Alright. Let's get something straight. This title here is clickbait. That is clickbait. I did not almost get arrested 2 times because of this car. I did, however, get pulled over and searched twice on my way to Johannesburg because of this car right here. So in this video, we're gonna dive deep into the history of performance sedans like this. Performance, it's only a 320i, I know, but stick with me here. We're gonna dive into the history of performance sedans in South Africa and their reputation with subs. Then we're going to explain why my particular car is targeted so much by police. Yeah, let's get into it. So the first time I got pulled over in this car, I was on the N4 between Middelburg and Witbank on my way to Johannesburg, and I was cruising at a BMW driver's pace. Let's just say that. I'm not gonna say any numbers live on the internet. I do not know the statute of limitations in terms of speeding fines, but yeah, so I'm cruising at a decent pace and I spot a B8 Audi A4 in the furthest left lane. This was a 3-lane highway, so it is in the furthest left, the slowest lane, if you will. So obviously I spotted it from quite a ways away, so I started slowing down. I slowed down to about a $120 and was just cruising. Now, if you've ever been on the N4, you know that if you're traveling at 120, you're basically joking. So now at this point, I'm being overtaken by everyone except for the standard issue police Audi B8 A4 that is now starting to follow me at this point. At this point, I do start to suspect that I'm about to get pulled over, but in my mind, I wasn't doing anything wrong, so I struggled to find a reason why police would want to pull me over. Well, lo and behold, they light me up. I see blue lights and headlights flashing in my rear view mirror, and I pull over to the side. Now I'm stopped at the side of the highway for reasons which I couldn't come up with. I didn't know why they would stop me. I was going the speed limit, wasn't driving erratically or anything like that, but nonetheless, 4 quite big African men step out of the Audi carrying quite big R4s, and one of them walks up to my window. I roll down my window, obviously, and they tell me to get out. Don't even ask for my license, they just tell me to get out. They pat me down, they search my body. They then open the car up and they search it. They open the boots, search the boots. They even search under the boots. There's a little compartment there under the seats. Every single cubby in the car, they opened it, looked through it. I actually had a speeding ticket from January when I was driving my sister's i10. Asked me if I paid it. Obviously I paid it. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and yeah, they just let me go. Thoroughly confused, thoroughly terrified as well. I'd never been stopped by police, and it was kind of shocking seeing 4 people with R4s step out of the Audi just because of me. That was kind of jarring, but I just let it go. I chalked it up to, you know what, police are just doing their job. This is what they do, and I'm quite glad that they're actually doing their jobs. You know, they're actually being thorough. What I wasn't very glad about is when it happened for the second time. Once again, same route, N4 between Middelburg and Witbank, going to Jozi. I spot a Focus RS. Right, so editor's note, it was actually a Focus ST instead of an RS. A Focus RS police vehicle would be insane. I'm sure if you know anything about cars, you know why that is so crazy. Yeah, please forgive that. I'm going to continue saying it's a Focus RS. It's not, it's a Focus, it was a Focus ST. Looked like a 2016-2015 car. Obviously full on police vehicle. It has the whole subs livery on it. At this point, because I'd spoken to my father about the previous event that happened, because I had spoken about the previous time that I got pulled over by the police, he informed me that police don't care what speed you're going. They don't really care for that. They are looking for suspicious vehicles in particular, so that's why they pulled me over. They didn't pull me over because of speeding or drive or any type of driving related thing. So at this point, I was cruising at my normal BMW driver pace. Once again, can't say numbers here, might actually get myself arrested. I'm not gonna say what I was doing, but I spot the Focus RS on the left side of the highway. I'm still cruising at a decent pace at this point, and I slowed down a little bit. I slowed down by maybe like 5-10 kilometers per hour, but I'm still kind of I'm still kind of eating a little bit, as is the rest of traffic. You know, and for people move, they don't have time to pay. So I'm moving along with traffic. This time I was in the fast lane, so I was following someone else, but we were overtaking the slower traffic on the 2 leftmost lanes. So yeah, cruising. I cruise past the Focus RS. And for a few seconds, it seems like, because I'm checking it in the mirror, because, you know, I've been traumatized by the first time this has happened. It seems like it stayed in its lane. At this point, I think, you know what, I'm pretty home free. Then I see it jump into the middle lane. Its speed is kind of increasing. It is kind of catching up to me a little bit. And then they also jump into the 3rd lane and actually end up catching up with me at this point. So I kind of indicated into the middle lane, expecting to get pulled over. They follow me into the middle lane, and lo and behold, once again I am lit up for the 2nd time. Pull over, obviously there's nothing I'm hiding. I was speeding a little bit, but so was everyone else. That's not why they're gonna stop me. Try to pull out my license. It's like, hey my guy, we're the police, we don't really care about your license. Why don't you get out of the car for me? Then they search me again. I almost said I got strip searched, but that'd be weird on the side of the highway. They pat me down, and then I step aside a little bit. They open the car up and they search it like they did before. And like before, which is, I didn't mention it in the first story, they kind of ask me questions like, where are you coming from, where are you going, why are you going, where you're going, stuff like that, just to kind of see what my kind of intentions are. Once again, they find nothing in the car except for some of my more personal objects, equipment even. They make some jokes about that. We laugh it off, and I set off. We leave. If you didn't get what I was talking about, go down in the comments. I'm sure someone has commented what I meant there. But for the 2nd time, once again, I am free to go. They didn't find anything. Obviously, I wasn't hiding anything. I don't partake in the devil's grass, so they wouldn't find that. I don't drink, so they wouldn't find that. So yeah, they just let me go. But now my mind is racing. Why have I been pulled over twice in the span of less than a month for doing basically nothing? Well, that's what we're going to find out. But before we delve into that, let's kind of discuss why a car like mine would get targeted by the jealous boys. Now, if you've been a follower of the channel, of the business for a while, you would know my 2013 Mazda 3 1.6 Sports Dynamic that I owned last year. And you would remember how dark the tint was on that car. And you will see that the theme of dark tints continues with my E90. As you saw there, I have very dark tints. I've always had dark tints on my car. If you remember when we bought the BMW, how goofy it looked. Yeah, I can't drive a fishbowl around. I'm just unable to do that, so I always get really dark tints on my car. I say cars like I've owned many cars. I've only owned 2, but yeah, the point is I lack dark tint. And not only for, you know, the steez, I mean, this does look really good. This looks insanely good. It is really nice looking, handsome even, some may say. But that's not my only reason for tinting my cars. Another reason for tinting my cars is to prevent smash and grabs at shopping centers when you're parked up and you have clear windows and by mistake maybe you left your laptop or some kind of valuable in your car. Criminals can clearly see that. They break into your car and they take whatever they saw, or they just take the car in general. While this is not going to totally stop someone doing that, it is kind of a deterrent. It makes it less likely to happen, which is always a good thing. And yeah, most of my reasons for tinting my cars as dark as they are do come down to just privacy and security. I film a lot and I don't feel comfortable filming maybe in a busy area and I have my phone mounted on the windscreen. Now I'm filming, talking, people can see me talking to myself. I do kind of feel a bit self-conscious. I mean, I say that and I'm talking to a camera right next to a main road, but disregard that. So having that dark tint does kind of help me get into my own world essentially, and I can film without feeling that kind of social pressure that someone's watching you or something like that. But yeah, as we will see later on in the video, this right here is one of the main reasons why I got pulled over twice in less than a month. So let's talk about why this is happening to me. Why do I keep getting pulled over and searched by the police even though I didn't do anything wrong? Now, to address this question, we first have to take a look at the reputation that the BMW 3 Series has built up for itself in South Africa. Going back to the E30 and E36 BMW 3 Series, these cars were always targets for hijacking, and after they had been hijacked, they'd always be used for some sort of crime requiring a rather quick, nimble and agile car that could outrun the police. And the BMW 3 Series has always kind of been the perfect car for exactly that. Back in the day, they were plentiful, so they were easy to find. They were known to be relatively quick, and they were easy to steal, so they kind of over the years built themselves a reputation for being stolen and used for crime. This goes all the way up to even today. BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, even base model cars still have that reputation of being used in crime. That's just the nature of these performance German sedans. It's kind of like BMW, Mercedes and Audi made these cars for this express reason, because they just tick all of the boxes in terms of what criminals look for in a getaway vehicle. One of the things that led to these cars having the reputations that they have is because they're relatively quick cars. Now, my car is a 320i. This is not a fast car by any means. I'm not gonna say this is a fast car. A fast car, let's say, would be a G82 M4. That's what I would kind of class as a fast car. This is not fast by any means, but compared to normal traffic, compared to your Polos, and I'm sorry to the Polo fanboys, I'm not trying to trigger you, it is just the truth. Compared to the Polos and the Hyundais, and I'm not talking about GTIs and N-lines, and no, I'm talking about basic, normal, everyday traffic, your quids, everything like that. These cars are quicker than that. That's just the truth. Even my 320i is quicker than most normal traffic. And because this is still quintessentially a BMW, underneath we still have a BMW suspension, we still have a BMW balance in terms of weight distribution, we still have the core DNA of a BMW. It handles as such. This car handles great, which is what you would have seen me talk about in my review of this car. I think it was my 6-month review of this car. It handles like an absolute dream, which makes it really good for running away from the police in their Toyota Hiluxes and Rangers and stuff like that. Those kind of cars just can't keep up with how quick these cars can be around corners. Some of the crime that these cars are used for include hijackings, cash in transit heists, armed robberies, and even kidnappings. Once again, these are really fast cars, so criminals know that they can get away relatively easily if they have someone who knows what they're doing behind the wheel. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense to use something like a Hyundai i10. You'd be caught within 45 minutes of committing said criminal activity, so that's why they prefer these higher performance, faster cars. And I must stress, these are not petty crimes. These are the big stuff. These cars are used in actual organized crime. That's why there's such a high crime risk. That's why they're stolen so much, is because more often than not they are turned into getaway vehicles, and it's obviously way harder to track down a stolen car that has then been used in a crime. So that's why they steal these cars and use them for all these violent types of crimes. These cars also have a really interesting history in terms of cloning. They're really easy to clone. What they do is they put a fake number plate on it, and basically it's set to go. Then they can use it to their heart's content. They can use it for as much crime as they want to use it. And once again, like we've talked about with the agility of these cars, they make great getaway cars. Actually, back in the day, these cars would be cloned to look like Saab's flying squad vehicles. If you know what the flying squad is, it's kind of like the high-speed pursuit segment of the South African police services, and they had a lot of E90s in their fleet back in the 2010s. So people would clone those cars, make them look like Saab's cars, and commit all kinds of atrocities with them. Part of the reason why these cars are so suspicious, especially one with this much tint, they just have a really bad rap with the Rossers. Now, what I suspect to be the main reason why I keep getting pulled over and searched is my window tint. My tint is really dark, and criminals have a reputation for tinting their windows very dark to hide stuff like weapons, drugs, stolen people, you know, human trafficking victims. Unfortunately, dark tint does a really good job at hiding those types of stuff, especially if it's criminals trying to transport those goods or people or whatever from one place to another. You don't want someone looking into the car and accidentally see the 10 AK-47s that you were going to sell in Soweto. I mean, obviously, that's why they tint their windows, and that's why I looked suspicious with how dark my window tint is in conjunction with the type of car I was driving. BMWs already have a reputation. A tinted BMW is a no-no. Even something as basic as a 320i or something as slow as a 320i still has a reputation, and like we've talked about, these cars have been extensively used in criminal activity, so it can't just be excused just because it's a base model vehicle. The base models are the biggest problems. Dark tint obviously isn't illegal in South Africa. I've been stopped by traffic cops many times. These are normally just like kind of roadblock situations. Thanks to Waze, I never get caught speeding like ever anymore, and I've never received a complaint about my window tint. Even back when I owned my Mazda 3, that car had really dark window tints. Actually, I think it was the same percentage as the Beamer. And yeah, I was still a new driver back then. I didn't use Waze, so I did once get stopped for speeding. Even then, they only wrote me up for the speeding. They saw my windows, they saw how dark they were, and it wasn't a problem. But still, very suspicious to be in an E90 320i with tinted windows on the highway trying to act inconspicuous. Now, in conclusion, I can't stress enough how decent my interactions with those police officers were. Like, both of them were really cordial. They were really nice. I wasn't handled roughly in any kind of way. I did cooperate, obviously. I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna start fighting the police for no reason, but yeah, they didn't give me a hard time, man. It was really just a simple thing of them doing their due diligence, them doing their jobs, making sure that our roads are as safe as possible, and I appreciate that. I probably will continue to get bullied in this car every time I go anywhere. That's a national highway, but I'm completely fine with that if each interaction is going to be like the interactions that I've had before. I don't have a problem with police doing their job. So the point of making this video wasn't really for me to complain about my interactions with the police or how I've been mistreated or kind of abused. No, this is not that type of video. I might make that type of video in the future, who knows, but right now that's not it. It was just a video of kind of delving into an interesting phenomena that I ran into in owning this car, in that now I look like a bit of a gangster, which once again, not really a bad thing. Yeah, it was really interesting to see how different cars with different modifications on them can be extra suspicious to the police, and maybe this shed some light on something for you, or maybe you learned something new in this video. That is my hope, at least. But until the next one, thanks for watching and goodbye.